All right, recording and transcribing. Yeah, let's start. Hi, everyone. Quick intro. Me and my friend Ishaq, we are back with our weekly podcast. To those handful of you who watch our podcast every week, thank you so much. Uh, I know it's not a lot of you, but with 100 odd subscribers, we get around 20, 30 views. So at least three, four people watch it. So thank you. And let's start. So Ishaq, welcome.
Hey
And
man, what's up?
what's up, man? Nothing. The Olympics are over.
Mm,
Today's the closing ceremony. We're recording this on 11th August. So, yeah, pretty sad that we won't have anything much to occupy the evenings with or to look forward. At least for me.
yeah.
At least for me.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
not very sure about the other Indians. And we have a lot to talk about today. There are so many
Hmm.
things in Olympics itself that we can talk about that
Yeah.
says a lot about who we are as a nation and
Hmm.
why our competing spirit is quite mediocre, is what I honestly
Hmm.
feel.
Yeah.
Not in many places, but in few places, right? So
Hmm.
uh, first of all, let's start by quickly looking at the medal tally, and here is like where I want to draw your attention to. Okay,
Yeah.
so you may be aware, no, like of course, like Pakistan has a gold medal, and now they are
Yes.
way higher than us. Can you believe this? Like I don't know. I can't believe that I'm telling you this. It's just unbelievable.
It's actually unbelievable that because there were only seven or eight
Yeah,
odd athletes that had gone from Pakistan, and there were
yeah.
about 110 or 12 plus athletes that have
Delegates.
gone from India,
Ah,
from India. And surprisingly, we still lag behind Pakistan by 10 or 15 points or something like that. I mean, I think we are
yeah,
in 63rd. The last I checked, and Pakistan were in their
yeah.
early
I have it
like
on screen.
early 50s.
Let's look at
Yeah.
this. So you know the interesting with Pakistan is they had seven athletes, out
Hmm.
of which they had more delegates than athletes. Like there were 25 or 30 delegates. Okay, who had just gone to have a holiday in Paris and France. Okay,
Yeah. Hmm.
then they got one medal. But I mean, okay, look at it. We are, I think, at 70. Yeah, we are at 70 with six medals. Okay, and
Hmm.
had Vinesh Phogat one, we'd be way higher. That we will discuss
Okay.
later.
Hmm.
But let's take a look at the smaller nations who are ahead of us. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So we have nations like Armenia,
Hmm.
Lithuania. But I mean, here's
Yeah.
surprising. North Korea.
Wow.
North Korea has two silver medals. Okay. Colombia, Mexico, Turkey, Mexico. Pakistan has one gold medal. Let's quickly come to the smaller nations who have won a gold medal. Okay. Pakistan, Dominica,
Okay.
Morocco, Guatemala, Dominican, Uganda. Uganda has a
Wow.
Saint Lucia, Chile, Bahrain. Bahrain is very interesting. You know, I heard in the Middle East they have a very interesting strategy. So what they do is they
Hmm.
buy players from other countries.
Oh.
Okay, they contract players from
Okay.
other countries to come play for them, like the Middle East countries. They say that hey, you are the
Okay.
top performer in your nation. We will pay you. You
Hmm.
win medals for us. We'll give you all the facilities. Very very aggressive
Wow.
strategy for winning medals.
Okay.
Botswana,
Wow.
man, Tunisia, Egypt, Argentina, Greece, Ethiopia, Portugal, Switzerland, Denmark, Thailand, South Africa.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean the list is endless. Like we can go on and on.
You know, the interesting
Uh,
thing that you can see over here is, I mean, in the bunch of countries that you saw, all those countries, the bulk of them are either Middle Eastern countries or very low, poor resource full countries
yeah,
from Africa. And to think
yeah,
that they would probably, I don't know what facilities or resources they would have even had to send their athletes even to Paris and for them to win medals and gold medals, but for us to have at least economically far more progressive and well-to-do than all of these countries even combined, I would say, and for us to be languishing right there in 73 4, it's quite I mean, I'm proud of the Indians who have at least even gotten all those six
yeah.
medals, but for a country of 1.3 billion people, for us to even not cross like 10 medals, so I would say that the benchmark is not that very high. I think we are at par with how I think the number of medals we got
I
in
mean,
London. I think in Rio we got seven or something,
yeah.
and we're kind of cheering that, which we
Let's
should,
look
by the
at
way.
it.
But
Yeah.
yeah, It's quite a sad state of affairs when it comes to sports in India.
In Tokyo 2020, we were at the 48. No, you know what? We were in fact bad because in Tokyo, you can see we
Hmm.
are at 48 minutes, seven medals, one gold. This time we are, I
Okay.
mean, it's bad than Tokyo, way worse than Tokyo. And India medal
Yeah.
tally in London, right? I think London was
Yeah.
2016 or Rio,
20,
I think
2012. 20, Rio was 16. London was 12.
12. Yeah, let's check out. Okay, we are better than Rio, but
Hmm.
worse than Tokyo.
Tokyo. Yeah.
So I mean, if you look at it, we are in the leagues of Armenia, Lithuania, and North Korea. I mean,
Yeah.
I cannot. I mean, Jesus Christ, man, North Korea is higher than us. So okay, let's
Yeah.
talk about this. Okay,
Hmm.
because um, see, I have a very contrarian theory. Okay,
Hmm.
and to those people who will watch us now, eventually later on this podcast, I want to share with them that this podcast we don't discuss issues, just we try to share our honest opinion. Okay, and a lot of
Hmm.
them may be controversial or contradictory opinion, but
Hmm.
uh, they are opinions that we feel very personally and deeply passionate about. Like, for example, I feel that
Hmm.
in some sports where we are already very good at, it's not
Yeah.
about money anymore.
Hmm.
It's not about infrastructure that we are not winning medals. I think
Hmm.
it's something else. It's maybe our competitive spirit. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
it's maybe pressure. It's maybe bureaucracy,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's just money. Because if you look at sports where we are traditionally very good, like shooting,
Hmm.
uh, wrestling,
Wrestling.
and badminton,
Yeah.
and hockey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, look, the hockey team is doing well. Now they're back to their old winning ways, back to back, two bronze medals in the
Hmm.
Olympics.
Hmm.
But in certain sports like wrestling, I mean, what happened with Vinesh Phogat, very sad.
Hmm.
Okay, but
It is.
then, yeah, but then today we have a bronze medal as well,
Hmm.
right? Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a bronze medal as well for with Aman Sherawat. Like, I think we should have won the gold medal, at least in wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, there is no reason we shouldn't have won. Whatever happened,
Hmm.
whatever transpired, it was very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay. Interestingly, Vinesh Phogat,
Yeah.
who had a challenge to drop weight, she's 29
Hmm.
though, so I'm not saying that she's at fault. But
Yeah.
Aman Sherawat managed to lose 4.5 kgs in 10 hours.
Oh my God. Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, he could make the weight category, whereas Vinish's
Okay.
decision at CAS, as per the news, has been deferred.
Okay.
Decision. So I don't think we will get a decision anytime soon.
Silver. Yeah. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think we'll get clarity anytime soon. But let's
Hmm.
come back to the medal tally. Uh, I think what do you think is like one of the reasons, right? For example, Prakash Padukone was very upset at Lakshay Sen,
Hmm.
okay, for giving away for having errors, which I felt was a lot of people took it very personally.
Yeah.
Okay, like
Yeah.
I saw comments saying कि अरे प्रकाश पाडुकोन ने क्या किया है वो he didn't even win an Olympics medal. Look,
Hmm.
badminton Olympics was introduced after Prakash retired. But
Hmm.
Prakash is a All England champion and he's a
Hmm.
very, very credible and a serious guy. In fact, he
Yeah.
and Viren Rastina, they started the
Hmm.
Olympic, he's part of the Olympic Gold Quest, which has
Hmm.
given us a lot of these medalists.
Yeah. No, I agree. I actually agree to a certain extent, and the fact that I feel like unlike China and USA, I feel like that it's a combination of issues. First of all, they I feel like I agree to the fact that maybe somewhere our athletes kind of lack that killer instinct and to go for the kill when the time matters. Of course, when I mean, if you look at the competitors that Lakshya Sen was facing or some of the other athletes were facing, they were obviously much higher in terms of caliber and in terms of maybe experience as well. And because these people, our athletes are so young, and because they hadn't had that kind of exposure, or even if they had, they hadn't had the exposure of handling a pressure situation of like maybe a semifinal or a quest for gold. Maybe sometimes they tend to crumble under pressure, but at the same time, you also have to take into account the fact that a lot of these athletes, if you look at another pattern, a lot of these athletes sometimes don't even represent in the subsequent Olympics. So, like, where do our medals kind of go? The other thing I feel like the sports in our culture is not that deeply ingrained, unlike in the West or unlike in places like China, Australia. Australia, surprisingly, this is their most successful Olympics campaign, by the
Yes,
way.
they're number three. But
Yeah, they're
one
number
thing,
three.
sorry to interrupt, they
Yeah,
are very successful because Russia is not in this Olympics.
true, and Russia hasn't been a part of the last Olympics or this Olympics as well. They've been banned.
Yeah.
Their athletes can participate, but they're independent. They participate independently. So a lot of these countries actually take. So if even if it's a valid point that you now mentioned Russia. If you go to Russia, or if you even remotely follow Russian culture, so sports culture, the moment a girl is born, or a moment another, mostly female, the moment a girl is born, by the time she's 6 7 years old, she has to take up ice skating. She has to take up some kind of gymnastic sport. And a lot of these girls who even go on to pursue other careers, their actual pursuit is always for an Olympic representation for Russia. Similarly, if you look at the United States, they always compete very well in terms of volleyball, especially in swimming and sports. This is something that I see even here in Canada. The moment they're very young, they you have to take up a sport, and if you take up sport and if you have some kind of interest, you are religiously trained, and there is a certain path that you take. The last time we had a podcast, the girl I was mentioning, Summer McIntosh from Canada, she's only 17 years old, and she's gone on to win three gold medals in three different categories in this edition of the Olympics. And
Jesus.
her mother used to be, and her mother in the 96 Olympics, she had around 4 or 5 gold medals in the single edition or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but her mother was a gold medalist, and she's following on her footsteps. Sports is ingrained in their culture. Whether it's China, we can debate about the ways maybe China pursues sport. That's a different issue altogether. But at least for democratic countries like the United States or Australia, sports is a very big part of their culture. So you can pursue sport, you can pursue a boring sport, you can pursue a publicly loved sport like cricket or football or whatever. But the moment you take up a sport, whether you're a single athlete or whether you take up any other kind of game, you are given that kind of push, not just money wise, but also from your family, from your support system, that then you can actually go and handle these kind of pressures. Just look at Australia's skateboarding competition. The gold medalist, she's only 14 years old. So
Yeah,
I
and
feel
the
that there,
break
yeah.
dancing is the entire joke that we'll discuss later.
So I think all of these athletes kind of grow up with a mentality, with a killer instinct. They don't really kind of bulge under pressure or any sort of that stuff. But I think somewhere in our culture, first of all, sport, it's to pursue a sport professionally itself is such a hassle, and it's such a painful Herculean task. Politically, culturally, even in your family, you have to convince 10 different people to even let you pursue that sport. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things, and that is why, because we are not accustomed to going to these world events and competing head on, maybe we tend to crumble under pressure. And because we are so deficient in terms of our medal tallies, that the moment we even get some recognition, whether it's a bronze or whether we have 10 bronze but 0 golds, we keep cheering that, okay, at least we have some bronze. That is more of a participation satisfaction that we give to ourselves. And obviously in India we take everything too personally, too seriously. But it is the same story in every Olympics. And we feel we stand by our athletes, but at the same time, I feel Prakash Padukone is very right when he says that maybe he should have gone for the kill. Maybe there's something more that our athletes could have done, or maybe that they didn't handle pressure as well, and because of which we fail to kind of make that uh,
Yeah, yeah.
extended.
I was listening to this podcast, his news, this thing, his news channel, which said that
Hmm.
one of the, I mean, you take a look at the cricket, right? How cricketers are compensated. Okay.
Yeah.
Cricketers are compensated based on contracts.
Yes.
And if they are part of the contract, even if they're playing or not playing, they still stand to earn an income.
Yes.
Okay. And this guy, Arshad, who won the
Mm.
javelin throw, he didn't
Yes.
have any money to buy the javelin. He knows story of poverty. So who stepped in to
Yeah.
help him? PCB.
Yeah.
Okay. The Pakistan Cricket Board helped him. Then I
Yeah.
also heard that Neeraj Chopra also helped him. And
Mm.
I mean, he doesn't, his house, if you look at online, he
Mm.
comes from such a poor background.
Mm.
Okay. And he has received no help.
Mm.
Uh, he has absolutely received no help from the government, despite
Yeah.
having received promises of help. So, like typical Indian
Yes.
thing, those
Mm.
politicians who present checks to the athletes, big
Yes.
checks, only for those
Exactly. And
money to
yeah.
never come.
Yes.
Okay,
Exactly.
so I think a lot of people in India will not pursue sports properly because number one, there is
Mm.
no security in it. Okay,
Yeah.
uh, there's no security in pursuing sports, and that doesn't feed your family. So here's what I was
Yes.
thinking is that let's say BCCI also intervenes like PCB. Okay,
Mm. Yeah.
you don't sponsor all the sports, that is not
Yeah.
possible, but take uh, a few sporting icons. Like take a Neeraj for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take wrestling, take athletics or hockey. Hockey is
Yeah.
sponsored by government of Odisha. They are okay.
Mm.
Take a few of them or shooting and you back them financially.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
back, back them financially because clearly the government is, the government has done a lot. Credit to them.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
not completely discount that the government has not. There are
Mm.
still there is still enough bureaucracy for people to, uh, for leaks to happen and for efficiencies to reduce because I mean
Mm.
the government sporting associations, whatever money they get, the money gets siphoned out very easily.
Yeah.
Okay, and it does not land properly to the athletes.
Mm.
So yeah, like for example, Neeraj Chopra, I heard he carries with his own entourage, personal
Mm.
coach, then trainer, physician, physiotherapist, etc. So one
Yeah.
way is to like get your cricket board to sponsor because government has other things to worry about. They are doing enough, they have done
Yeah.
enough, but get other people.
Mm.
Secondly,
Yeah.
is that you spoke about this culture like in Australia and China or Russia. At a young age, you are groomed,
Mm.
right? I was watching a
Yeah.
video of how they select gymnasts and weightlifters in China. So they go to first, second
Okay.
standard, okay,
Mm.
and they try to identify Olympians based on their body type. They make them do a few
Yeah.
exercises and groom
Mm.
them from early on. Okay.
Yeah.
Now imagine you were to do that in India, parents are going
Mm.
to come down and protest in front of schools, saying कि हमारे
Yes.
बच्चों को क्या
Exactly.
करा रहे हैं, वो पढ़ाई नहीं कर
क्या
रहे हैं,
करा रहे
ये
हो?
करेंगे,
Exactly.
हाँ उनको उनको इंजरी हो जाएगा.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, and
Yeah.
even if you look at it, like it's not that we are a
Mm.
nation of very poor people, like even the rich people.
Mm.
Okay, like
Yeah.
you look at the Americans. There are a few
Mm.
Americans. Okay, there's this
Mm.
Harvard trained guy who's
Yeah.
an investment banker who won a gold
Mm.
medal. Then there's this
Wow.
girl who's a venture capitalist from the US, studied at the
Mm.
best colleges, and also won a gold medal. She's in cycling. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and some
Exactly.
guy from Germany in Price Waterhouse Coopers or some consulting
Mm.
firm. That guy also won something in sailing or rowing, some of the sport. Okay, so
Yeah, and there was a
if you
Russian
look at that,
athlete. So if you even if you
yeah,
look at all the top Russian and Ukrainian and Eastern European, specifically Russian athletes and gymnasts, if you look at any of their big names or the legends that we have had over the past, and one of the most prominent being Valentina Tereshkova, or even if you look at their journeys, even current ones, so you'll see that a lot of them pursue gymnastics as well as pursuing other careers as well. It may be related, so
yeah,
you'll find a lot of these gymnasts pursue sports medicines or medicine in general. Some people will go for physiotherapy, chiropractor, etc. And those are very lucrative careers as well, and they pay you well, and
yeah, 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 yeah,
you
yeah.
can have a respectful life. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah. My point also was, see, our poor and middle class people are not pursuing sports, and for them it's a
yeah,
valid reason because sports doesn't help you earn money.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
My other thing is that why aren't the rich people also pursuing it? Right.
yeah, yeah.
I fundamentally think that
Mhm.
we don't have a sporting culture. That is first
We
of all, right?
don't.
But
Yeah.
but but those, for example, who have the resources, like the millionaires,
Mm,
billionaires, the
mm,
well-to-do, who
mm,
have these fancy
mm,
cycles they import, and they are racing every
mm.
weekend, or who play sports like
Yeah.
soccer, I mean, or whatever, or running.
Mm,
Why aren't they participating? I,
mm,
I just don't get it. I mean, these investment bankers of the US are able to do it because they're
mm,
religiously trained. I think
mm,
in the West, right,
mm,
you are like the Australian mindset is, to win at all cost.
mm.
I mean, of course, not try cheating. That also they're known for. But I'm saying
Yeah.
to win, winning for them is very important. They're very aggressive about it. They don't care about
Yeah.
coming second and third or winning a consolation or a participation medal.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
For them, it's
Agree.
like for them, they want to win. There is no
Yeah.
other way.
And that is
So
something that's even ingrained in their cricketing, even in their cricketing culture over the last
yeah,
whatever 30, 40, whatever years, ever since Australia been Australia. And the reason why they win when it matters is because they have this go for the kill culture. It doesn't matter. People can call them cheaters, whatever, and they have few incidents here and there.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you can accuse them of sledging, this, that, not gentlemen's game. Well, you're not here to sip tea in afternoon tea in your backyard, right? For them,
yeah, yeah.
sports means you have to win. So you'll either have them win nothing, or you will have them win everything. So you'll either have them lift
Yes,
the cup, or you'll have
yeah,
them not make any kind of mark in the tournament as well. But you'll never see
yeah,
them, with a silver or bronze or whatever. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
obviously some
absolutely.
sports, obviously, but the culture I'm talking about, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think we lack a competitive culture. The only place where Indians have competitive culture is entrance exams, number one.
yeah,
Then number two, certain pockets of people in India who want to go abroad at any cost, even though they don't have the financial means to do so, like to go to
yeah,
Canada or the US or Australia,
yeah,
through some
yeah,
means.
yeah,
That's one. And then thirdly, for government jobs.
yes.
So I think as a nation, we are a very nation of mediocre people, is what I
Yeah,
think.
I
We,
feel that we are also a nation that is not fearless, I would say,
yeah, at
which is
least in
also one
sports.
of the, especially in sports. Yes,
Yeah.
we don't have that fearless killer instinct mentality. That's some,
Yes, they don't.
you often require in competitive Olympic sports or even international sports. So you can win you can win a gold here and there. So you can literally count when India won gold. So maybe in
Yeah.
2004 when Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore won that
No, no, we
medal
won
at
gold.
Greece in
We
shooting.
won gold. We won gold last time, now because of
Yeah, exactly. So we
yeah,
won last time. We won it in Tokyo, and before that, I think we won it in London, if I'm correct. So we've won gold
yeah.
here and there, but
Historically, our
consistently,
biggest
yes,
our gold has always come in hockey. That was in
yeah,
the early 20th century, in the 1930s, and in the
yeah,
World War II era until 1960s, I think, or
yeah,
70s. That's when
yeah,
we had gold. Yeah, I mean,
yes,
I think that, I mean, we have this issue in colleges where people get admission at a sports quota, but
yeah,
I wouldn't also say that I mean it's a issue with nutrition or funding because I mean come
hmm.
on, North Korea has more medals than us. So
True.
I mean, what do you
Uganda
account
has more
that
medal.
for?
Like Uganda has
Uganda
more
has more
medals than
medals
us.
for us, right? And if you look at all the
Yeah,
African countries, what kind of
yeah,
sports they excel at? They excel at running.
yeah. Running.
Okay,
Yeah,
Kenya,
yeah.
Nigeria, Uganda,
Hmm.
Lesotho, they all
Hmm.
excel at in sports that involve athletics.
Yeah.
What does North Korea have few medals in? Let us see. Uh, Man, Kyrgyzstan has more medals than us. Jesus Christ. North Korea has
Wow.
medals in diving, table tennis, and wrestling and boxing. Sorry, I mean
Wow.
we are
So
good at
mix
wrestling.
of we
We
are
are good
mix
at
of sport.
boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they're decent. I mean, they were diving as well. I mean, come on.
Mm,
What does Kyrgyzstan have medal in, man? Let us see. Kyrgyzstan has medals in wrestling and boxing. Okay, okay. You know, a lot of the Central Asian, like the countries I've seen, are good at boxing and a few other combat
yeah,
sports. But I
yeah,
mean, see, it clearly does not explain as to why our lack of funding or we are not a sports first nation. I mean, come on, with 1 billion people, we should be winning more
yeah,
medals than North Korea.
yeah.
That is just common sense. But yeah, man, it's just utterly unfortunate. And I think that now
Mm.
let's talk about the next thing. Do you think India should host Olympics?
I mean, I would, I mean, it would be a moment of great pride if India hosts the Olympics. It's 2024, so we still got 12 years ahead of us. I think before hosting the Olympics, definitely feel India has the capacity to host the Olympics financially. But more than that, do we have the infrastructure of actually hosting Olympics in different, places in terms of whether whichever city that hosts the Olympics? And the only city that comes to mind, you have to keep in mind that it has to have a lot of the sports facilities in its vicinity. It has to have uh, horizontally, it has to have a lot of space. So the only place that comes to mind is New Delhi, the national capital. Um, Maybe that's also one of the reasons why the Commonwealth Games happened in 2010. But what we have to also ensure is that we have an impeccable infrastructure, at least for the duration of the tournament. And given the kind of flood situation or the monsoon situation that we have every year, I don't honestly feel very, optimistic about hosting Olympics. So before hosting 2036, whichever city India proposes to host, I feel that India should be very careful about making sure it's sanitation, making sure it's uh, uh, drainage systems, and its cities are functioning at the best of their abilities. I mean, we can paint around a city when Donald Trump comes to India, but we should be able to handle at least 3 4 weeks of international level sport, sporting event. So we have to make sure all those factors are ticked before we actually even think of bringing in the Olympics to India. And also, not to mention the amount of corruption that can happen in India whenever such a big, whenever an event of this magnitude comes to India. There's always scope for corruption, like we saw in the 2010 Olympics, 2010, sorry, Commonwealth Games happen. So a lot of number of factors will play, but I definitely feel that India has a capacity financially to at least host the 2036 Olympics. But the roadmap for that should begin even now, not that like you are turning around a city or a country in a matter of 12 months. This is not the US where you're going to build a makeshift tournament or stadium to host a ICC Cricket World Cup, and then you'll everything will be perfect as before. A lot of things go into account. We have a population of huge size. We have very bad traffic. So how is that going to be managed in a major city when the Olympics are happening? I'm assuming because the Summer Olympics you have to host it in the summers. There's going to be rain around the corner as well. How are you going to manage that? Then you will have tournaments like you'll have competitions like swimming, and you'll have competitions like rowing, etc. Where are you going to do that? You certainly can't do that in the Yamuna or the Ganga. So all of those things kind of play a big role before we even dream about the Olympics. It's a big, big thing. So yeah, I'll be excited to see how that turns out. And until then, let's hope that India actually puts itself in the race for bidding the 2036 Olympics.
It 2036 is the very early, is what I think. Okay.
Hmm.
12 years is
Okay.
very early to get the sporting infra and not to forget the new elections, regime change, a lot of things can happen. I think
Yes.
maybe in 20 years, 2044, okay,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
2048, 2044 should be fine. And I
Hmm.
think that fundamentally just one city or state cannot or should not host the Olympics. Okay.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
divide it between Bangalore, uh, Bangalore, Tamil
Hyderabad,
Nadu,
maybe.
Hyderabad. Yeah, like keep the
Hmm.
coastal states for the aquatic sports as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
keep Delhi for a lot of athletics. That facility we would certainly have,
Hmm.
and keep the southern or the eastern states, right, for big
Yeah.
field sports like rugby or football because they have that like
Yep.
culture.
Yep.
Okay, and then divide it because one city cannot handle
Hmm. Hmm.
this much of infrastructure for sure. We
Yeah.
will crumble. We will definitely crumble. And
Hmm.
for the host nation to be ready, I think that for us, every Olympics is a loss, to be very honest. Okay, that
Yes.
all countries now realize that after every Olympics, they're not going to make any money of it.
Hmm.
Okay, and imagine, Paris was thought to be like a lot of tourism will happen and people will come in. That
Hmm.
didn't happen. Okay,
Okay.
that didn't happen. So if people are divided. I'm just quickly doing some search on is the Olympics driving tourism. Apparently, it is not.
Hmm.
Paris tourism takes a plunge despite excitement of Olympics. So
Hmm.
Paris Olympics deterring tourism. So I mean, clearly it does not work. And now imagine
Yeah.
to host Olympics that too. Now you can't. The summers are going to be too hot, which is okay.
Yes.
Winters you cannot definitely host it. Which I mean, winters
Hmm.
anyways. There's schedule of Winter Olympics. You cannot host in
Yeah.
Delhi for the pollution, of course. So our
Yeah.
climate, our economy,
Hmm.
if we will improve by then, that's a big no issue. But the climate definitely does
Hmm.
not encourage for us to host it. And if you host it in
Yes.
multiple cities and
Hmm.
start planning from now.
Yeah.
But be serious about it. But I don't think we'll be serious about it. I mean, I
Hmm.
saw that even during the World Cup cricket match, even the biggest stadium in the world, the one in Gujarat, even that didn't have proper facilities. Like food was being
Yeah.
served by people with their bare hands,
Oh God.
and it was crazy. It was crazy, man. Like we are not meant to do world class hospitality.
Hmm.
Okay, we have world class hospitality. We have world class hotels, tourism, and God knows what all. And we can
Yeah.
import, of course, all these things. Like when, for example,
Hmm.
the G20 summit happened. But
Yeah.
well, that was in a much smaller scale, so that was much more manageable. But I don't think
Yeah.
we should host Olympics anytime soon.
True.
Rather, maybe we should start with a very small scale, kind of like we should host probably qualifying games of other capabilities. Okay, like we
Yeah.
already host India, Bhubaneswar already hosts the Hockey World Cup,
Hmm.
which is there. Maybe we should host some smaller sports like this, like race walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then probably take it for like take baby steps. Take baby
Hmm.
steps.
Agreed.
Don't do other things.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the way
like
to go. Yeah.
as a host nation, it will be very embarrassing if you come if you're not in top 10. If you are below that, then to see your name on there as a host nation is going to be very embarrassing.
Yeah. True. Agreed. Agreed.
So
Agreed. Hmm.
so to see that is, I mean, yeah. Now let's talk about the India Sri Lanka thing. We'll
Yeah.
again touch upon Olympics a little later. India Sri
Hmm.
Lanka. So what were like your thoughts on the series?
It was funny actually because I was keeping the tab on it only through YouTube and maybe on Google News. And it is surprising to see that India losing in the manner in which it did. But an interesting fact that somebody made, I think it was from Sri Lankan team only, and it was interesting to see, and he had some validity to his point as well. And he said that India does not really bat second that well, especially in turning slow pitches and in bigger grounds where they played all their matches, which was in Colombo, which happens to be a huge stadium, far more bigger boundaries than India is used to playing in India. India mostly plays in places like Rajkot, Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, which has very small boundaries.
Small pitches, yeah.
Small
Boundaries.
boundaries. The dimensions are very less, but more importantly, not that any of our batsmen are incapable of hitting longer boundaries. They play in places like even Melbourne, where they hit sixes all day long. But more importantly, India's weak link in this series, I felt, was like their absolute inability to tackle the Sri Lankan spin, and especially in spinning, turning, low pitches. I think Sri Lanka batted in all three of them first. India went on to chase those targets. Those targets were not very huge. They were all in their 230s, 220s,
Mid to one,
whatever.
mid. Mid 200s
Yeah,
and
mid 200s, etc., etc. But even if you look at the World Cup final that India played, they only had to chase like 240 runs. But on a slow turning pitch, 240 runs can be huge. It's not easy. It's never going to be easy to score. They tried shuffling people here and there, bringing in experience and some new fresher faces as well. But unfortunately, I maybe India took Sri Lanka too lightly, and they just wanted to go bang bang and finish the game in 25 overs or something, and that's not going to work out in spinning pitches. I mean, I like the like aggressive attack that Rohit Sharma takes and that he has been taking ever since the World Cup started. But sometimes you need to even apply yourself and maybe play the longer innings like he did in some of his earlier stages of his career. Virat Kohli looked completely out of touch, and the manner in which he got out in all three matches was absolutely embarrassing. Like, you don't expect somebody of his caliber to get out in the manner in which he got out. In the last match, he played the ball and he got LBW. His bat was nowhere near the ball. Like, for someone like him to be failing, I don't know if he was not even interested in playing or what, or maybe he just left it too much for the other players. But yeah, it's sad to see. It's funny also because India didn't manage to win a single game. And remember, this is also a preparation for the 2025 Champions Trophy, which is about to happen in Pakistan. So, not a great start for GG, not a great start for India with the new team and the new fresh faces. Sri Lanka is one team which is not very consistent in today's day and age. They have captains changing every 6 months, and they don't really have the might and capacity that they used to have earlier. But kudos to them. I don't know what meant like it's if Sanas Jayasuriya coming in as a head coach that has turned around things for them. But it'll be interesting to see how the team pans out in the longer run. But definitely embarrassing for India to go down 2-0 and not win a single game in the ODI series.
yeah, I briefly followed it. Just like a lot of people, I was mostly interested in looking at Olympics. But from what
Hmm.
briefly I saw was that you know briefly I saw is that India couldn't play Spain number one.
Hmm.
But slightly on the more stronger opinion, I think players were just not interested.
Yeah.
Okay, like some of the
Yeah.
players just came in to do the job and flew back. I don't want to
Yeah.
take names. People who understand.
Yeah. I know
Okay.
who you're talking about.
Yeah, to not be able to play spin, Indian batsmen are famed to play spin, right? You can play spin well,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And we've been having so much cricket recently. It just makes no
Hmm.
sense. Yes, I mean the bigger grounds may have stumped us, but hey,
Hmm.
I mean we did win the T20 series, right?
Yeah.
And we did win the T20 World Cup, so it's not like you were not familiar with them.
Hmm.
And I think, but I would also like to point out that uh, maybe Gigi was experimenting a lot, and this win or loss means nothing because it's still very early days of his coaching career.
True. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. True. Agreed.
I and if you interestingly look at
Hmm.
the calendar for the men's cricket team for this
Hmm.
year, or this on BCCI, this was the
Hmm.
last ODI of this year. Could you believe that? India is not playing any ODI before the Champions Trophy.
That seems very bizarre because then what
Extremely
preparation is
bizarre.
India having before? Because the
Yeah,
Champions Trophy is not in November or December next year; it's in February.
it's next.
So we
It's in
hardly
February,
have us.
so 6 months.
We hardly have 7 months. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is strange. That is very
and
strange.
and I don't know how in what condition right now Bangladesh is going to tour India. It just makes no sense.
Hmm.
I think this tour should be cancelled given what's happening over there. But if you
Yeah,
look at it,
exactly.
right,
Agreed.
you're playing two
Yeah.
tests. Just, I mean,
Hmm.
what series even is even two tests? It's just purely for the test that Mace India has, na, to get the
Yeah.
points for.
Yeah.
Okay, you're playing two
And you're playing
tests.
two tests, three test matches against Bangladesh. Like for what?
The two test matches against Bangladesh, though I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
mostly just to get the points. Then three
Hmm.
T20 eyes. Then three T20
Wow.
eyes. Okay.
Yeah.
Then again, two tests against three tests against New Zealand in October
Hmm.
and November. Then November we also fly to South Africa for another T20 series. I don't know, like what's up? Okay. Why are we playing
Okay.
T20 again in South Africa? Where is the ODIs?
Yeah.
And then in January is the England tour of India, again T20. And in February next year is when the ODI series begins against England.
So they play though. So they're good. They play. So their plan is basically play three ODIs as practice matches against England before
Yeah,
heading to Pakistan. Like, are
yeah.
they? Is that an indication that they take Pakistan so lightly and the Champions Trophy so
No, I
lightly, or
think,
is
see,
it
I think
like
the,
some brain fade or something?
yeah, it's a stupid schedule. I completely agree with you. It's a fuck all schedule. Okay. This is purely from the point of view to make lots of money.
True.
Okay. See, for
Hmm.
the ODI World Cup, so you don't have a calendar where you need India to qualify. India will automatically
Hmm.
qualify. But for T20, you need points.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
test
Championship.
match
Yeah. Yeah.
championship. You need points that they have to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
T20 World Cup is just over. I don't know why they have to play T20 well, but theories are
Hmm.
that India wants to squeeze more out of broadcasters and advertisers,
Hmm.
and ODI is losing its sheen.
Hmm.
But at least you can have one or two ODIs. No, I mean, this is bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Okay. To not have any practice, and I think the Champions Trophy is also not going to happen in Australia. So in Pakistan,
Hmm.
between us, it's going to happen at a neutral venue like Dubai or Sharjah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, or maybe they'll come to India. I'm not sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so
But the schedule is
this
already
is
out, no? This the schedule for the Champions Trophy is
schedule
already
is
out.
yeah, schedule is out, but you know how it will operate on the whims and
So
fancies of
of
India.
BCCI, yeah. Apparently they're playing all their. At least if you go by the schedule, they have set it out for now. All the matches in Pakistan, India is likely to play it in only in Lahore, so they don't want to travel around.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it just makes no sense. Like, what on earth is happening? I mean, uh, let's now look at, let's see,
Hmm.
this is the cricket Australia schedule. Okay,
Hmm.
they are playing in September, Scotland. Look, I mean, Australia is playing like it truly focus on expanding the cricket. Okay, they are playing Scotland
Hmm.
in September, it's T20I. Then they're playing England
Okay.
again in September for
Oh.
T20I. Okay,
Okay.
in the UK. My God, how many T20? Okay, then and then see then the ODI starts. It's 19
Hmm.
September.
Hmm.
Then they are playing ODI in September.
Hmm.
Then they are playing ODI with Pakistan again in November.
Yes, so sir, that's good
Pakistan,
practice against the host nation, right?
yeah, yeah, it's good practice. Then Border Gavaskar Trophy, that's a test again. That
Hmm.
comes. This is what will take up majority of it, and that's the schedule broadly. But
Hmm.
they are playing two major tournaments against two top nations for ODI.
Hmm. Hmm.
I just don't understand. I mean, technically, if you think about it, Virat
Hmm.
Kohli is out of job till next year, right? Because he plays a test and ODI, right? He'll be back for a test, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, and so is
Mm.
Rohit Sharma and
Rohit
everybody
Sharma,
has retired. So
yeah,
Jadeja,
all
Rohit
the senior
Sharma, and Virat
members.
Kohli will be out of action till January next year. And suddenly, because this was mentioned specifically that all the senior players are going to be there in Pakistan playing the Champions Trophy, they are so imagine. They don't play Ranjis. They don't play any domestic cricket. They only play for India. And so they're going to be out of action for all these months. And then you're suddenly going to just drop them in Pakistan and expect them to score runs. They are not able to score runs even now when they have some amount of cricket, continuity from the World Cup and everything. I mean, they were going wham bam from ball one, and then or either somebody was playing too slow. Not to mention, K. Rahul is also left from T20Is, so he's someone who's also going to be there. I would assume included in the one day side as well. So all of these players will be out of touch. Rahul looked out of touch anyway, so I certainly don't see what trajectory his career is taking. So who are the people who are going to? Rishabh Pant was completely out of tune. He does not play too many. Well, he plays T20s, but he's predominantly a much better player in ODIs and Test matches. So who are the players who are going to be playing? You're not playing Bumrah in the major series. So
Yeah,
what match practice are you going to get before the Champions Trophy, irrespective of whether you decide to go to Pakistan, you play in a neutral venue? And then we complain about ICC droughts for 11, 10 years. So it just doesn't make sense.
yeah. I mean, this is absolutely hell-brained schedule. looks mostly like to
Yeah.
please advertisers and make a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
doubt how Indian team will play ODI. We are only mastering the short format. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and that is just our focus. Of course, T20I means more money for the India and the competing team. Okay.
Hmm.
Not that I heard that South African cricket is also not doing too well. Hence, the T20I, the T20 series needed to boost some of the revenues.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely bizarre. Like, I mean, when we spoke about that we're not as a sporting nation, we don't play sports for the sake of winning
Playing.
medals or competitive
Yeah.
spirit. We play to make money.
Yeah, it's not a matter of pride, and it's not. We don't play
It's not.
sport for a matter of pride. Even the was if you selected few sports that we play, it's only for money and making tons of wealth and fame out of it. That's all that people care about, unfortunately. Whether
Yeah,
it's the IPL, whether it's anybody's. I mean, there used to be a point of time when people used to even aspire playing for India. Nowadays, I mean, I'm sure that is still a dream, but people are very well and happy in playing in the IPL and minting money and making careers, which is good. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not saying you shouldn't make money. But the motivation for playing sport is completely dumbfounded in India than it is in other countries, where it's a matter of pride, where it's a matter of prestige, where it's a matter of self recognition. It's about winning a medal at an international, arena where you have all countries competing. If you look at the competition level, even in cricket, and a lot of experts have said this time and again in the last 10 years or so, we are not even competing. So the competition level has also gone down, right? With all due respect to
yeah,
Pakistan and all due respect to Sri Lanka, they are not the teams that they used to be in the
yeah.
yesteryears, right? In
No,
10
no.
out of 9 out of 10 matches, India wins against is likely to win against Pakistan. More, I would obviously even go on to say 10 out of 10 matches India is likely to win against Sri Lanka, or maybe I'm exaggerating, but more or less against these teams in Asia, India is the superpower.
Yeah.
I can see some amount of competition maybe from Afghanistan, given where they're going and if their cricket kind of keeps
In
them track
patches, like in few
in patches, and
tournaments.
if yeah, in few tournaments here and there, but in overall bilateral series or like ICC tournaments, India clearly in the from the Asian region has the upper hand. So Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
you take in West Indies are no longer, obviously that's a very sad story in how West Indies cricket has disintegrated. So you only have like what,
Top three,
Australia,
four
England,
nations, top three, four, five
top three,
nations, yeah,
four nations.
Australia,
Yeah,
England,
England, New
India,
Zealand, India, and South
uh,
Africa.
not even New Zealand. I would say South Africa is
Yeah,
there. They're
exactly,
recently they're
exactly.
playing well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess I would say I guess Afghanistan
Yeah.
as well.
So
In New
just
Zealand is
barring
too
4 5.
unpredictable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
New
barring
Zealand is
two
very
four five,
unpredictable.
there's hardly anyone playing competitive cricket right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
look at
and
this
you
right
look
as
at
the
the
ECB calendar also. You
yeah,
see, they're playing so many ODIs. They're playing
yeah,
against Pakistan. They're playing against Pakistan in Pakistan. So that is
mm,
going to give them some good practice. They're playing against
yeah,
Australia, of course. Hey,
mm,
Jesus, that is such a it's so weird.
exactly.
So terribly weird. I think gradually what's happening is our cricketers are going the football route. Okay.
Yeah,
Where you
yeah,
play for your club first and then country second.
yeah. And in 10
But
years' time, you'll see one day cricket will also become completely obsolete. Like I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years' time there's only one ODI series happening in a year for all countries.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, no one be surprised. And not that
Hmm.
BCCI is powering any innovation.
Hmm.
Even T20 was invented, I think, in South Africa or in England. And now
Yeah.
they are playing something in England called the 100 ball cricket.
Yes.
There's something that has also come up. I don't know what it is. Uh,
Hmm.
I mean, they are leading all the innovations. At least you try to make it. It's called the 100. In 100
Yeah, the 100.
balls.
So it's basically has 100 balls. It doesn't have an over system, and I think each bowler is allowed to bowl like 10 balls or something. And or I'm not particularly sure about the rules and regulations, but it does not have a concept of overs. It just has 100 balls. That's it. And given that you mentioned T20, you know how T20 was invented? It was actually an experiment by ECB in the early 2000s. This is 2002 3ish I'm talking about. So they wanted to bring more people in during
Hmm.
the weekends, especially sorry during the weekdays, especially after work. People would work all day long and it would get really tired, or even if they leave office at 5 or 6 o'clock, they'd go, to the pub, or they'd go out with friends and stuff. So they wanted to bring in more people into this. This was a domestic experiment into the stadiums to watch cricket. Now in the weekdays, that's not going to be a possibility. So what they did is, they said, let's try 20 over game. Make it more interesting, shorter version, etc., etc., and it gets over in like 3 hours. So it'll give people enough time for after work recreation, and that actually turned out to be a huge success. So people came in, stormed in big numbers across cities in England, and after work they would just hop onto a stadium at around 6 o'clock, and by the time it was 8:30, they'll already be back home. So that is how the T20 kind of was given birth to, thanks to England and their county cricket system. And so it was an innovation in back in the day, about 22 years ago, and then it became an I think the first international T20 was played somewhere around 2005. And then accidentally India in 2007, even when the World Cup had, first of all, India was not even keen on participating in the inaugural World Cup. And all the big three names, Tendulkar, Ganguly, and Rahul Dravid, and all the other big guns were rested. They reluctantly sent a very young team, making Dhoni an accidental captain. And they sent a team to South Africa, and surprisingly, we won. It was only after that their eyes opened, and then 2008, the whole IPL game happened,
Okay.
and they realized the potential of this game, and they hit the hammer they hit the iron with the hammer when it was hot, and the rest is history, of course. So nothing actually happens out of innovation from BCCI, especially when it comes to cricket. It either happens by accident or doesn't happen at all.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, cricket is a very weird sport, and I don't know why we keep watching it. Like in Olympics, also, I wrote on my LinkedIn that a lot of these
Hmm.
stupid brands, that are trying to make money out of uh, not supporting our Olympians or these other sports, and just trying to run offers, right? If Neeraj Chopra wins, we will give this and that kind of nonsense. Just
Yeah,
poor PR gimmicks. I mean, if you're so concerned about gold medals, why don't you sponsor athletes,
yeah,
right? But
or
no,
build
you'll go
or
sponsor
invest in
cricket.
or invest in infrastructures. Like, everybody will come for these photo ops. State governments will announce money, and then so central government will announce money, this that, and then
Yeah.
after 6 months, nobody knows where he went.
Yeah, that money never reaches the athletes for sure.
Yeah.
That just never comes to the athletes.
Hmm.
And I mean, if all these brands will always give money to cricket, but will hardly
Hmm.
sponsor other athletes.
Hmm.
So, but when Olympics happens, everybody wants credit. It's just sad.
Yeah.
It's extremely, extremely sad. Huh. Yeah, so that was it. Sort of taking a look at Olympics.
Hmm.
And talking about, let's end this Olympic segment talking about the 2028 LA Olympics. So
Hmm.
the plan is that we are going to be there in person. That's the goal.
Yep.
To see at least a few of the games. Recently, I've taken
Yes.
a lot of interest in beach volleyball, especially women's beach volleyball. I'll be frank. Yesterday, I saw the entire
Yep.
match between Canada and Brazil, the gold medal
Yep.
match.
Yep.
Uh, and Honestly, it was interesting, very fun to see. And I found out that there are two types of volleyball: beach volleyball and one you play indoor. So that was
Indoors, yes,
interesting.
on the court. Yeah, on the volleyball
Yeah,
court,
on the
yes.
court, and there are different kinds of rules and people involved.
Yes. And surprisingly for me, volleyball is a sport that is played with a lot of interest and passion here. So even in the beach in the summers, wherever you go, you'd be seeing people playing volleyball, especially girls. So you'll see a lot of beach volleyballs, and even indoor volleyball court during spare times. Girls actually play amongst their friends and family. Every house even has a basketball as well as some net system here, where people can just play. Especially, they mostly have it in the backyard, but if you go around the beaches in the summer, you'll find tons of people actually playing beach volleyball. So yeah, I mean, I can't
Yeah, I mean,
imagine this happening in India, given how people litter all the beaches as well. But yeah, it's not
yeah,
being.
no, beach, yeah, let alone volleyball. I mean, on beaches we'll be playing cricket as well. So it's
Oh yeah.
That's the other thing. So yeah, I mean LA 2028. So hope to see that there will be we'll get some more medals and hopefully we'll
Yeah.
get to be there in person. We'll
Yeah,
be
the
what
last
about
time
56? Yeah.
last time the Olympics happened in LA in '84. I think PT Usha won a gold. I think.
Mhm.
Yeah,
No, no,
for
PT Usha
running.
missed out. PT to missed
Oh,
out by
she
a
missed out on the. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Mm.
So LA and us have a very long history. So hopefully we'll be
Yeah,
there in person
yeah.
to check it out and let's see. I mean, not that US is not very unfamiliar with hosting Olympics. I'm just concerned about the temperature. LA is extremely hot.
Yeah.
It's extremely hot and extreme temperatures. I just wonder how you're going to host a lot of the events that are going to happen. And of course, the homelessness problem is going to be an issue.
Mm. Yes.
The security and the homelessness problem, it's something that the US
Mm.
government needs to figure out and fix it. Yeah, so
Mm.
that's definitely there on the same.
Mm.
Now, quick thing coming to the Bangladesh situation,
Mm.
and the reason for us to discuss about it is both of us are from states that are sort of, or in a way, could be impacted. We are
Border.
in that region.
Yes. Yeah.
We are in that region. So
Mm.
I think that for me personally, you remember we went on a trip and we saw the Bangladesh border
Yes.
and we saw that people are trying to the BSF over there and people are trying to
Mm.
come in. People are
Mm.
trying to come in and all that. So very unfortunate what has happened. Okay, I mean
Yeah.
I'm sure that Sheikh Hasina was a dictator. He shouldn't have used excessive force. That was just too much. And then using
True.
that, using that as an excuse, all the other fringe elements have taken over the nation.
Yes.
Do you think that this is going to be a cause of worry for the Northeast states, like the Seven Sisters, including Assam, from where you are, and especially West Bengal?
I'm not sure entirely as to how, but concern definitely yes. I think a lot of our viewers would like to know that we share the longest border with Bangladesh actually, and not with China and
Yeah,
Pakistan.
yeah,
And my state is, and unlike the other borders, this border is very porous.
mm,
So there's always movement happening in and around, to and fro, so it's always very difficult to kind of control and keep a tab on that section of India's border that we share again with Bangladesh. The second thing
mm,
is my home state obviously shares a border with Bangladesh, and what I've heard from back home is that security has been tightened. The Indian army and the Indian government would be very alert.
mm,
I wouldn't be majorly concerned, but I would more be concerned about violence and the unrest spilling out towards India and India's border, especially in West Bengal, because that can tend to happen. But I believe that they have an interim government with a very uh, uh, competent leader, and I
mm,
hope things kind of phase out and return to normalcy as quickly as possible. Because historically, Bangladesh is not known to be a very unrestful place, barring the unrest that happened maybe back in the '70s and when they got their liberation movement and they got their independence. But other than that, it's never affected that much in terms of our border. The only issue that we've had with Bangladesh is encroachment, illegal
yeah,
migration to India through the borders. So that has always been happening since Bangladesh was born. That's not today's problem or yesterday's problem,
yeah,
but I feel like we still need to be more careful and tightened in terms of the security that we have in the Bangladesh border, and absolutely stop any kind of movement into the border and be always on high alert and be on guard. Because yeah, if violence spreads across Bangladesh again, then it's very likely that it might spill out towards the border. So we have to be very heightened. I think the Indian army will be very aware. Like you mentioned, we went to the Bangladesh border as well in Meghalaya, and we saw the
yeah.
BSF people. So more forces you can expect now. But I'm confident that the Indian army is capable enough to kind of handle any kind of, if God forbid there is any kind of escalation in the unrest. But what I heard is it's kind of dowsing as of recently, and the action was mostly happening in the capital city of Dhaka,
Hmm.
along with other major cities, and maybe not as much in the borders. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the turn of events in the coming days. Hopefully, everything returns to normal.
Yeah, yeah, that is my concern as well. I mean, mostly because of it's going to have impact on economy. We'll need to put more soldiers at the border, so more,
Hmm.
so more
Hmm.
spending on security and all, and not like the northeastern states are also economically equipped to deal with
Yeah,
this much of influx. Now, if you look at it,
exactly.
all our border nations are completely screwed. China,
True. Yeah.
China is China.
Yeah.
Pakistan, Sri
Sri
Lanka
Lanka.
is also backed by China. Myanmar is
Yeah.
gone.
Hmm.
Then,
And now Bangladesh.
yeah. Now Bangladesh,
Small.
only to certain extent, Nepal is there, but for how long, God knows.
Yeah.
Then near our border also, I mean near our oceans also,
Hmm.
the China is always in conflict with the Southeast Asian nations, with
Yes.
Taiwan. So we are in a very perilous state. We are in a very dangerous zone. Okay,
Yes.
and from what I've heard is that CIA had a very big role in this.
Okay.
Okay, this is from very credible journalists who have tracked the movement of the diplomat, the U.S.
Hmm.
ambassador to Bangladesh, and how
Hmm.
CIA played a very big role in staging this coup.
Okay.
Okay, now Sheikh
Hmm.
Hasina is living in Ghaziabad, and UK has denied
Hmm.
asylum because of course, they
She
don't want to
refused.
upset the US.
Hmm.
Okay, no country wants to upset the US. Now she cannot go to any other nation. She can't go to
Hmm.
Europe. US has banned her visa.
Hmm.
Okay. She can't go to Europe, can't go to, it doesn't make sense for her to go to any place in Africa. She can't go to
Hmm.
Australia because of the ties Australia has with US. So she's stuck
Hmm.
in India for now. She's
Hmm.
staying somewhere in Ghaziabad.
Hmm.
Uh, and things
And
are tough
you
for
know, an
her.
interesting, yeah, an interesting input that I was hearing a very veteran former special intelligence person saying was that Bangladesh does not have a very good relationship with any of the world powers either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
except India, India is their closest ally, probably.
Yeah.
Sheikh Hasina's duration term I'm
Used to
talking
be.
about. So
Yeah. Used to be.
yes, during her term, Bangladesh kind of severed all its ties with some, at least the major economies. It did not
Hmm.
do anything to kind of appease or even improve its relationship with other major economies. Maybe the five Sena, the five eyes, as they call it, or even the major European economies. So India or even its other Indian neighbors, Pakistan, obviously they have always had animosity with. So India is
Yeah.
was known to be its closest ally, and there is a lot of animosity among Bangladeshis against India and the Modi government, especially because of the way it kind of played a safe haven for their dictator. But other than India, Bangladesh, now in her term at least, did not have any good relationship with any other major countries. So it'll be interesting to see how the major nations and global economies are all like Britain and USA also tracking the developments of how India is
Yeah.
safeguarding
Yeah.
maybe, or the role India is playing in keeping Hasina in India, or does it tell her to manage her own ways? So it'll be interesting because that will also have ramifications in India's geopolitical scene with the US
Yes.
and other countries as well. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the Southeast Asian diaspora is spread so strongly everywhere. Um,
Hmm.
UK, Canada, US, that it's going to impact a lot of people. And
Hmm.
like for example, from what little I know, I'm not an expert. There was absolutely
Hmm.
no need to use excessive force on the students. I think this could have been
Yes.
solved amicably, but
Yep.
because everything was going well for the nation, they were doing great in textiles. The GDP
Yep.
was doing fine. Yes, there were issues with job creation and things like that, but I think
Hmm.
the comparing students and demeaning them and using force is absolutely unnecessary. So
Hmm.
let's see how what happens in Bangladesh. Now moving on, talking about tensions in a country. right?
Hmm.
There is a recent video that you may have seen. You did see it, right? The
Yeah.
Guardian talking about the anti-immigration sentiment in Canada.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and this is the video. So,
Hmm.
of course, I mean, everybody knows about the issues,
Hmm.
why there is a lot of anti-immigration happening in Canada. But
Yeah.
now it seems like earlier, while it was a little fringe
Hmm. This has
movement,
now
now it
become
seems like
mainstream.
mainstream Canadians are taking part in
Yes.
it. Shed some light
Yeah.
on this. How
Yeah, it's
widespread is
interesting.
this now?
It's interesting because I was just reading today's news in the CBC earlier, or some other news portal, maybe, I don't quite remember, where there are 400,000 more, which is close to 500,000 people, 400,000 more immigrants who are that Canada is going to welcome by the end of the year, which means at least 500,000 people are going to get permanent residency in Canada in the expecting 6 months in the coming 6 months of the year that is left, which is bizarre because Canada's population in total has exploded to 41 million in just like about a year or something, and it's been more so is towards the immigration has also kind of disintegrated wherever their home may be. Their life back home was far more manageable than it is in Canada. Because even though it's not like they were their careers were flourishing back in India, but the only reason why people chose to go to go abroad or come to places like Canada is with the expectation of a better life into shelter homes, because apparently the situation is such over here that they're not even getting beds. You have to pre-book a bed at least 3 4 months ahead of time, and they're not even getting that right now. So everybody's being turned down. People are dying on the streets. I don't know how they're managing. People are a lot of, so you'll see a lot of people living in subways, where at least they can get some shelter and protect themselves from the snow and the harsh winters. So there is a lot of anguish among people, because it's not just the homeless people who are getting affected. Even well-to-do people, or reasonably well-to-do people, are getting affected in terms of grocery prices. So wherever they go, the groceries are the prices are skyrocketing. People who live close to the Niagara region actually take a drive to Niagara Falls in USA, in places like Buffalo, to do their groceries because it's cheaper. Can you believe that?
Hmm. Okay.
So yeah, the situation is that bad for some people. So yeah, and
Yeah, I
unlike the
mean,
US.
we can see
Yeah.
that as per CBC, unemployment rate unchanged in July. Jobless rate for
Mm,
young people continue to rise. Economy shed
yeah.
50,000 jobs.
Yeah.
Unemployment rate remains the same. Employment fell in wholesale retail trade, which shed 44,000 jobs, and in finance, 15,000. Jesus.
Yeah.
Public
Yeah.
administration, transportation, warehousing, and utilities. So I would say not very technical kind of jobs. Transportation, warehousing, very manual jobs saw gains. So
Yeah,
private
exactly. So
sector fell.
mm,
Private sector jobs have fallen.
mm,
Unemployment rate rose also more for recent immigrants than it did for people who were born in Canada. I see.
mm.
Okay. We don't see a lot of job creation in Canada anymore. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. But I just some stats from CBC. It was very interesting to see.
Yeah,
Mostly
yeah.
it is mostly it is impacting the immigrants, and a byproduct of that is now also impacting the native Canadians.
It is so the native Canadians' concern is basically obviously those who are not able to manage a home, or who have lost a home. And the other factor is obviously rising prices in groceries, the inflation that is affecting all, whether it's their gas prices or their grocery shoppings, or even managing, doing the shopping here and there. So there is less money that is in the hands, or that is at the disposal of the public. If you read some other interesting articles, there is enough news about Canada's standard of living diminishing and falling very quickly in the last 3 years in the developed world, which is very sad to see, because Canada at one point of time had, as recent as just 5 years ago, had, and it has had that ever since, I don't know, time immemorial. Canada always known as one of the highest standard of living in the world, along with countries like Norway and Finland. It's deteriorating every quarter in the last 3 years, and in the developed world, it has its position is declining day and day, so that is not helping its cause. So yeah, both natives as well as immigrants getting affected, because unlike in India, where you at least have a support of a family or a support system to mentally, emotionally, or at least you have a roof over your head where you don't have to, okay, ghar to hai kam se kam, or sentiment like that. But over here, there's like 10 million things that are bogging you down. And it's not like you live in Dubai or Singapore. You can just take a flight if you don't like, just go and go back. If you've come here, whether you've come here on PR or whether you've come here as an international student, you've already invested a shit ton of money. And so the sentiment is like, all you've already spent so much, might as well give it a try. And obviously, you live 12 hours flight away from India. There's seven seas and two
Yeah, it's
oceans away. So
expensive.
it's expensive to even go back home or even to come, travel to and fro. So there are a lot of factors
Yeah.
that play, and so a lot of people are suffering. A lot of students, especially immigrant, people from like international students, are suffering. So yeah, it is concerning. But figures have slightly improved in terms of like maybe 0 point something percent. At least that's what the data says. In terms of recession, I think Canada has just dodged going into a full-on recession. Is That's what the central bank said recently. But then again, it's not great news in terms of, oh, we dodged a bullet or something. We still have a long way to go. You still have a huge crisis to manage. You have all these people coming and you have no jobs. And so they've failed to kind of put a system in place where the dream that they sell to people before they come here, they've not been able to create enough jobs. They've not been able to create enough houses as well, for people to shelter them, for people to employ them. So yeah, let's see how things pan out in the coming years.
Yeah, yeah. I think with like I showed, right? I think so many companies now shedding jobs. Like recently,
Hmm.
I think so many companies shed jobs that there is no new job creation happening, and of course the immigrants going to Canada are not
Hmm.
going to not high technically skilled jobs, so not like they'll find it easy
Hmm.
to get jobs.
Yeah.
And So now they've invested so much money, they have to
Hmm.
justify the ROI. So they stick around in the country trying to do anything.
Exactly.
Uh, I
Exactly.
think what's going to happen is my prediction is that we will see migration to other countries right now. Okay.
Yes.
So maybe next year data will tell us that people are going more to, let's say, Australia,
Hmm.
or to Europe, maybe to parts like Germany, Italy, or maybe choosing to stay back, or at least the youth of Punjab is choosing to stay back in
Hmm.
uh, you know, uh,
Hmm.
India and do things. I'm not sure, but this is
Yeah.
what I predict. Now, talking about job layoffs, okay.
Hmm.
Um, I saw this very interesting story, and I couldn't help myself but talk about the to talk about how weird it is, right?
Hmm.
So apparently, under all this drama that the Ambanis have been doing of the wedding, they have laid off
Hmm.
42,000 people in the last financial year.
Wow.
Okay,
That is bizarre.
it is so weird, man. Uh, like this is the heights of capitalism.
Yeah. I mean, you show off a
You,
lavish wedding for your son,
yeah,
and you're laying off people.
you are hosting the wedding in probably every country on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay, every country's government is like kind of at your beck and call, uh, and you invited your own employees and you've also laid them off. I don't know what to say about this. This is pure capitalism. Reliance Industries has laid off 42,000 people, slowed its hiring space, and voluntary separations. And 140,000 chose voluntary separations. My goodness. And I don't know, man, if they could have saved some money from the wedding by not calling, I think Cardi B, Ori, and Rihanna. They could have
Yeah,
paid that much money to a few more employees who are now going to have to find jobs in this difficult economy.
yeah.
Right? I mean, on one hand,
Strange, strange.
yeah, on one hand, I saw Nita Ambani in Paris. There's a Geo Foundation where they support the Olympians. Very good initiative,
Mm,
right?
mm,
They had a full ceremony hosting and recognizing the Olympians.
mm,
Okay, so it was very nice. Good to see that. And on the
mm,
other hand, now they're doing this. I mean, I sort of realized this like at the end of the day. Okay,
mm,
be it the
mm,
person of any country, okay, be it
mm,
politicians or rich people, right? Everybody
mm.
pretends to be patriotic, okay, but
Yes,
at the end of the day, when it comes to their own comfort, they will only look at their own comfort first,
yes.
right? Um, so same goes for NRIs staying outside, or
Mm,
same goes for people who are trying to sort of migrate from here to other countries, whatever it could be,
mm. Yeah,
right? I mean, to lay off 42,000 people is absolutely no joke. On one hand, you have this, you're giving out 2 crore watches to random people, rich people who don't need those 2 crore watches because they have them already.
yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, this was just some opulent affair, dude. I was reading somewhere. I don't know the veracity of those news pieces, but it was in a credible media house, and it said Ranveer Kapoor or some celebrity gifted a Rolls Royce to the to the Ambani couple for their wedding. So Shah Rukh Khan gifted I don't know how many $1 million flat in France to the Ambani couple. I'm like, what is going on, dude? Like,
yeah.
they're
Why
just
rich people
exchanging
gifting?
exactly.
Rich people are,
Like,
how much? No, none of them need anything. All of these Bollywood actors
no,
have flats everywhere in the world.
I know.
Uh, they have all
Like, yeah,
the
but why are
Patek
you gifting
Philippe
them?
watches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why are you gifting them Rolls Royces and flats and Alpine nations? Or like, why? They don't need it, and you don't need it either. But it's just crazy how these rich people rub each other's hands, and I don't know, for
Yeah, I
profitable
mean, at the end
pursuits
of the
or
day,
God
it's
knows what.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's just the everyday people like us who get screwed with layoffs and all.
Exactly.
It's really
Like
sad
here
to
up
see. Really sad to see.
exactly. It's very, very sad to see people struggling for jobs and maintaining their decent life or living a decent life. And here you have people who have shit ton of money, will never, the generations will never finish, and just laying off
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
It's sad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, very sad to see. And if this is the truth, this is the truth. I don't see a lot of portals talking about it, but unfortunately, it is what it is. People are saying कि जियो का पैसा बढ़ा के शादी कर लिया और फिर लोगों को lay off कर दिया. That's how the memes people are making of. All right. I mean, we
Yeah.
are on the towards the end. Now to some
Yeah.
light-hearted things. Any
Yeah.
recent movies or TV shows you have seen?
Oh, it's interesting actually. Now that you ask, I've watched a very recent TV show called it's on Prime called From. It's a very interesting sci-fi kind of show. Basically, the premise, without revealing too much for our viewers, is basically a bunch of people who are stuck in a place. It's like a circle. You can't, if once you enter the town, you can't leave it. So even if you try to leave it, you'll end up back in the same place. And after sundown, there are some unnatural things that happen outside, and basically the job of the people is to protect themselves and survive and look for a way back home. And the third season is coming this September. And I was looking at the cast and crew; they're all Canadian actors. This was filmed in Nova Scotia, which is a state east of Ontario. A lot of Hollywood projects actually filmed here, so very interesting series, very interesting, very good acting, very good storyline. And yeah, that is one interesting show that I watched. I've watched some light-hearted movies. Like I watched this movie called I think Your Family of A Family Affair. This is called Nicole Kidman and Zac Efron, where they play. With the Zac Efron is this hotshot Hollywood superstar who's trying to do some meaningful movies, and Joey King, who plays his assistant, is trying to make it in Hollywood as a production assistant, as a writer. And her mother used to be a writer at one point of time, and then Zac Efron and Nicole Kidman have an affair behind her back, the daughter's back. It's a fun, light-hearted movie, but overall very cliched at times. But it could have been better. I also consume a lot of Indian shows and movies, so I always keep a tab of what's new in terms of what's coming on Netflix and stuff. I watched this interesting show called Tribhuvan Mishra CA Topper,
Nah,
and
yeah, yeah, how was it?
it was actually good. I would say I did not like the ending. It could have had a very good ending to what it began as a very interesting story and a very good plot line and a very good theme to explore in the Indian culture. Basically about this very honest man who goes on to make a very honest living but struggles to live a decent life as any imandar person would in India, as it's portrayed. If you're too imandar, it becomes very hard for you, life becomes hard for you. That is the premise of the story. And when the bank where he keeps all his savings and deposits and everything, it goes broke, and his all the accounts of the account holders are frozen. He basically runs out of ways to make ends meet and to keep a roof over his family's head. And ultimately, he decides that he wants to be he wants to try his hand out in male escort. I don't know what clicked, but the story progresses very well. It kind of explores the theme of a very taboo issue, but it humanizes the profession of escorts. It's good to see from a male perspective. It explores the family equation with the how an Indian family equation would look like. The wife as a housewife who bakes very well, and he helps to start a business. They both manage in a very tight situation. The son-in-law, the guy, obviously, has frequent visits from the mother-in-law and doesn't really like it. Blah blah blah. So overall, a very good story, very good progression. I would have loved to see a better ending. I wouldn't reveal it for our viewers. Maybe it's for them to check it out. But overall, it's got some very good actors. I'm a big fan of
Okay,
Manav Kaul. He's a very capable actor. So yeah,
okay.
those are the movies and TV shows that I've kept up with. What about you?
Yeah, I saw this new thing on Netflix called Fir Aayi Haseen Dilruba.
Okay.
I'm going to. I found it to be okay, interesting.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
a thriller kind of a who done it mystery kind of a thing. People are
Okay.
trying to escape from cops, and you see interesting things. If you've seen
Hmm.
the Kevin Spacey movie of the
Hmm.
90s, right? Usual Suspects.
Okay.
Okay, Kevin Spacey has the Usual Suspects, iconic movie.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
uh, it's kind of similar. The clues
Okay.
are right in front of you, and you've got to figure it out. Of course, there's a lot of sex
Okay.
and cheating and all that stuff. So yeah,
Hmm.
very kind of fun thing. Then I saw this. I wanted to explore a bit on the, a bit on the Malayalam side. So I saw this movie. It's very
Hmm.
nice. It's
Hmm.
on Hotstar again for those who want to check it out. Uh,
Okay.
Very funny movie. And one of the actors over here is a very accomplished director as well. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, in terms of international cinema, I haven't seen anything, to be honest.
Hmm.
I was also following Marvel's its own Comic Con D23, where they have their own
Okay.
bunch of announcements today. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean that's what it's sort of been,
Hmm.
and yeah, broadly that, and I've been just trying to find new things to watch.
Hmm.
And probably I'm going to next movie I'm going to check out is this one's the Hollywood version, which because this is releasing very soon in India, and sort of want to like compare this. Uh,
Is that the new Akshay Kumar movie?
yeah, it's a new Akshay Kumar movie. I forget. I think the Hollywood version
Hmm.
has Hugh Grant, Anthony, copy film, copy pasted. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to see so that I can. It's Perfect Strangers. It's an Italian film. comedy drama called Perfecti Konosuti. Yeah, and there's also 2016, I guess, remake of it. Anyways, I mean, so yeah, so I'm going to check this out and sort of start this new series where I'm comparing films that are inspired by others. So that
Mhm.
I can tell people what to watch. I'm just sick and tired of these adaptations again and again and again.
Oh yeah.
We make the most number of movies in the world, 1,000+
Hmm.
movies we release every year, and we can't find one original screenplay, one original story. Every time it has to be adapted something or the other,
I think there's a
right?
creative drought happening in Bollywood or some for some reason or the other. I mean, it's just sad.
Or yeah, or we're just too lazy, or we're just
Yeah.
absolutely too lazy,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And now, yeah, now that's the end of the movie thing. Now, the last part is every podcast we will talk about an international tourism fact or a new place. It is a new
Hmm.
segment. Today we talk about Spain. So,
Okay.
dude, you're aware of this, right? That
Yes.
in Spain,
Yeah.
Spaniards are squirting waters on tourists.
Yeah.
Okay, very, very bizarre kind of
Yeah.
very bizarre kind of news that's happening. And I see this kind of this, Canadian sentiment is a lot of anti-immigration, and I also see a lot of this happening in Europe.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, quick brief is what happening is that because of the influx of tourists, number one,
Hmm.
Spanish cities are becoming very crowded,
Hmm.
and that is raising the prices of a lot of things. So rent, travel,
Hmm.
food, etc. So similarly like Canada. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now think about it that how far are these two countries are on the global map, but issues seem to be
Hmm.
broadly quite similar,
Hmm.
right?
Because
I
summer
think we
Spain happens to be a hotspot for summer holidays. You know, like if you look at Spain's history of
yeah,
tourism, I mean, mostly their tourism has flourished courtesy of the British. So if you know, so for all our viewers, Britain has a very gloomy, rainy, cold summers.
yeah,
So you don't have a lot of the sun. So a lot of the British, ever since for centuries, have been going to the Mediterranean to relax and to have vacation. So Italy, Greece, south of France, and
yeah,
Spain. So
yeah,
islands like Ibiza, Majorca, and these even Tenerife. So these are hotspots for tourism. But while it was okay for people just from Britain or Europe to go, now we live in an age of social media. We live in an age of over information. You always see what your friends are up to, maybe where your friends went to or where your uncle went to, etc. And now everybody wants to just flock to Spain for a holiday. It obviously falls in the Mediterranean Sea, so like I said, obviously makes it to be a hotspot. And these are European nations, these small countries. So if you have people coming from all over the world, obviously people are going to be pissed. And like you said, obviously it's going to then impact the prices around in terms of hotels, in terms of hospitality, in terms of even food, clothing, shelter, etc. Everything, because we obviously also live in times of bed and breakfast and Airbnbs and such. So you will obviously have people putting up their
yeah. But
pretty
I
looking
think
flat. Yeah.
I think that while Canada's protest is a lot to do with government policies, I don't know why people aren't questioning their own government. Like
Hmm.
tourism powers your economy. Okay,
Yeah.
if you are hostile
Hmm.
towards tourists, I mean, what's going to happen,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I think people need to balance.
Hmm.
So, for example, I can see the stat that as per estimates, tourism
Hmm.
powers about 2.5% of Spanish economy,
Hmm.
and it will account for 13% of total GDP.
Wow.
Okay, so it's as per Reuters, it's like a very bane for their tourism accounted for 71% real growth of Spanish economy. So I think that
Hmm.
I've lived with honestly I've lived with a lot of Europeans. Okay,
Hmm.
Spaniards, Italians, some
Hmm.
French, and what I've seen from the conversation is that they're very territorial.
Hmm.
They have very uh, sort of very strong identity associations with the regions. and they
Okay.
tend to be sort of they tend to be very
Protective.
very vocal about it. Yeah, very very protective about it. Okay, so I
Hmm.
think that, I mean, why aren't they questioning the government? Like, if tourists are coming in, you build more
Hmm.
facilities, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
make more hotels, you expand more beaches, put more restaurants. I mean, you're going to make money
Hmm.
out of it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't know, very bizarre. Maybe I'll ask someone from Spain to explain this a little better, because
Hmm.
apparently now this is going to spread all across Europe as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Uh,
I mean, I feel like some countries have obviously managed well. Like if you look at Switzerland, places like Switzerland, they literally like their entire economy is dependent on tourism. And tourism in Switzerland has happened since a time immemorial. Like even harsh winters don't matter. They've created a whole industry out of winter sports, winter skiing, winter vacations, and tourism. So whether it's the summers, whether it's the winters, Switzerland has been a hotspot for the rich and famous, and as well as now even average people to go and have a great time. So imagine places like Zurich or Lucerne or Lauterbrunnen,
yeah,
and
yeah.
places where people flock to. So every summer it's filled with people. But I guess I feel like the local people have kind of accepted it long ago, that it boosts their economy, it helps their livelihoods as well. And I feel like maybe there is a proper management from the Swiss government than maybe from the uh, Spanish government. But again, it's got to like be a lesson in learning, and they've got to just manage it well rather than chuck people out and uh, portray Spain as a very hostile destination for tourists, because otherwise that's going to backfire. And then there are ample other Mediterranean vacation spots where people can go. People can go to Turkey, people can go to Greece, people can go to south of Italy, Croatia. And so Europe
Yeah,
is not deprived of places where people can find an alternative. So
yeah, Europe isn't, but I think that tourism is very important, especially when the entire world is going through a slowdown, and
hmm,
people need to find good places to do it. And I think, for example, this is a good time for very uh, countries that are not very high in terms of tourism, like for example,
hmm,
be India or maybe US,
hmm,
even for that matter,
hmm,
or even
hmm.
or even South America, to like attract these people, or maybe other regions in Europe. Like I think Greece is still very friendly
Yeah,
in terms of welcoming tourists, right?
yeah,
France again, I think one
hmm,
example of how costs are pushing people out of holidaying is the Olympics in France. People, tourists aren't going
hmm,
there. So
yeah,
what the government expected to earn out of tourism is not happening. Okay.
yeah.
But some lessons, at least for there, but I found it very bizarre. I mean, imagine you're landing up on Ibiza and people are spraying water on your face. It's just so weird.
I swear,
It's
yeah,
just it's just so weird. You're landing the party capital of the world.
yeah,
You do a tapas bar and you want to do some salsa,
y-
flamenco, watch some good
yeah,
football.
yeah,
People are throwing water on you. It's so bizarre.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Any parting words? Any last words?
No, and I think we've had a good podcast. We covered a lot of
Lot
topics,
of
I think,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, interesting to see how the next week goes. And I can't wait to meet for the next podcast and discuss some interesting things that happen around the world.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very strong opinion. I'm now waiting to see how the athletes come back and what the
Hmm.
reaction is. There will be a lot of these so-called rewards and recognitions and being given to them.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
let's see. I mean, what that goes. I heard that Neeraj Chopra in an interview said he has bought a Mustang. Okay,
Oh.
clearly he deserves it. Okay, he owns a Mustang
Hmm.
and he deserves it. So he's doing very, very
Hmm.
well for himself.
Hmm.
That is
Hmm.
not an issue. His star value is only going to go up, right?
Yes.
I just hope that the other athletes that have gone and haven't won a medal continue to
Hmm.
focus for 2028. Don't give up hope. Try to get as much as private sponsorships as they can, and hope brands are not milking them for their own PR, but are actually supporting grassroots sports and talent.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sort of it. So, all right,
Yeah, man.
great, Ishak. Thanks so much
No
for
worries,
your
man.
time. Take care. Have a great day and a great weekend ahead. Bye.
You too, man. See you. See you soon.